All right, welcome back to the New Sentinel. Vinnie Morelli here. If you want justice, go to church, but if you want the real story, you come to us. Sitting across from me, as always, is Ranger Reed. Let's get right into it. Today, we're tearing into freedoms, the ones you don't even notice until they're gone. So let's start with the big one, freedom of expression. Most folks here in the States, they yap all day, tweet about the mayor being a bum, call congressmen lazy. Nobody blinks. I mean, power respects power, but power also fears an honest mouth. Try pulling that off in Beijing or hell, Moscow these days. They'll swipe your post, your phone, maybe even you. America's First Amendment is the kind of muscle most people dream of. You can joke about the president at a BBQ. Over in China, they got folks monitoring jokes like they're nuclear secrets. One meme about Winnie the Pooh, and boom, you get a knock at the door.
You're not wrong, Vinny. I spent time in places where just saying the wrong thing could get you hustled into a van, not seen again for weeks. India, they've got these old sedition laws. A retweet, technically, could land you in court. In Nigeria, it's even worse. Journalists vanish, protest leaders get locked up, internet gets shut down. And folks here still act like being shadow banned on social media is the end of the world. I mean, context, people. We're still living in Disneyland compared to half the planet.
Let's talk Russia for a sec. They dropped this law that makes it a crime to even mock the Kremlin. You call Putin a clown, you go straight to a cell. Now contrast that to, 1970, whatever, Berkeley, Boston, all those protest signs, parodies. Here, the sharpest weapon is a marker and some cardboard. Over there, they see that as an act of war against the state. And I'll tell you, one time I heckled a councilman back in Jersey, right during a public hearing. You couldn't pave a parking lot if your life depended on it. Crowd laughed. Councilman scowled. And then what? Nothing happened. Maybe he threw out my parking ticket later out of spite, but that's it. Nobody tracked me. Nobody knocked on my mother's door. Try that in Iran or Indonesia. You get more than a dirty look.
Honestly, people underestimate how lucky they are to be able to do that, Vinny. And it's easy to take for granted, till you're somewhere you can't. Heckling a politician, writing a snarky letter, even starting a podcast like this. Those are serious risks for millions of people worldwide. That's not just freedom, that's power. Now, if we're talking power, let's move into the next piece. Due process. It's kind of like the bulletproof vest of democracy. You got the right to remain silent, right to a lawyer. Government's got to play by visible rules. Sounds basic, except it's not. Outside the US. Take Brazil. Looks decent on TV. But there's rampant plea deals, forced confessions, people flipping just to avoid endless detention. You want to talk about a fair trial? Go try your odds in a Pakistani military court. Some places, you'd be lucky if your family even finds out where you landed. Never mind if you get a phone call.
Let's keep it real. You get pinched in Jersey, you got options. You call Sal the lawyer, he's working the phones before they finish the paperwork. Miranda rights, independent judges. Not perfect, but there's a system. Now compare that to Egypt. You speak out, you end up in some anonymous cell. Good luck. In Turkey, it's bad enough that folks literally disappear. I got a buddy, old contact. His cousin vanished for running his mouth about the wrong administrator. Family spent months looking. That's not law. That's the street running the courts.
And even in places with laws on the books, like South Africa, it can go sideways real fast. They've got some of the most progressive constitutions on paper, but police still go rogue. You see it play out. Police overreach, corruption, intimidation. In the States, you can fight back in court. Elsewhere, the process itself becomes the punishment. Folks don't realize how much that shapes day-to-day life. Makes you think twice about talking to, anybody with a badge.
Exactly. And like we said in some earlier episodes, systems live or die by what happens when nobody's watching. In Jersey, you got dirty cops, but there's still a shot at pushing back. Some of these places, there's nobody to push, just the wall. All right, last slice of the pie, maybe the spiciest. The right to bear arms, and privacy. Only in America is the right to pack heat written into Scripture. like it's a commandment. Most countries? Forget it. Try pointing out you want a shotgun for protection in Bangladesh or Russia, even Mexico, where you got cartels roaming, and the average Joe still can't legally own a pistol. Yet here it's part of the DNA, wild stuff.
And the thing is, it's not just about owning a firearm, it's about the culture around it, right? Here, it's tied up with independence and self-reliance, whether it's realistic nowadays or not. Meanwhile, in plenty of other countries there are strict ownership laws, bureaucratic hoops, or, the government acts like the only one who should be armed at all. In places like Mexico, you've got this ironic thing. Lots of guns, but most in the hands of people outside the law. It's not the neighborhood watch, it's the cartels.
And let's not forget privacy. Here, they got to get a judge to sign a piece of paper before tapping your phone, or at least that's the ideal. They mess it up sometimes, sure, but the rules exist. But over in China, the government's reading your messages before you can hit send. Data scooped up like it's Halloween candy. Brazil? Half the time it's not official surveillance, it's the local telecom sharing everything they know. Germany, patchwork laws, but at least they try. Indonesia, they do what they want. And I'll tell you, back home, folks gripe about spam calls. Meanwhile, in half these places, the government's opening your mail if it even gets there.
Right. And like we talked about a couple episodes ago with the rise of digital money, privacy isn't just about paper anymore. With data everywhere, you start to see how the line between government, business, and criminals gets real blurry, real fast. If you value keeping your life your own, you gotta know the rules, and know just how fragile those protections overseas really are.
That's the big takeaway, people. What feels obvious here is rare everywhere else. If you're playing chess and you don't know the rules, you lose the board, not just the game. All right, that's our time. Ranger, always a pleasure mixing it up with you. Streets remember what the courts forget. Don't take it for granted.
Always good, Vinny. We'll be back next time with more, so stay sharp and stay free wherever you are. Catch you next episode.